Hello, it's the end of the semester. This is our last week, and you can see that things have gotten less and less formal around here, and I'm sure they have at your house as well. We just need to get through these last 4 days together. And to help you do that, I'm going to give you a little bit of explanation about what this week holds and encourage you to reach out with any questions you have, but sooner than the last day, because at midnight on the 14th, which is Thursday, the semester ends and work is not accepted after that point. I'm going to say that again. There is no such thing as late work at the end of the semester. Once the semester ends at midnight, that's the end of the semester. So there's no 2-day window the way there typically has been. And you need to keep that in mind as you're not only working through the materials, but also in asking any questions you have early enough that I can get you a response. I have office hours every day this week. Today is the first day since spring break that I did not have anyone come to office hours. It makes me a little bit sad, but it also gives me hope that that's because you all are feeling really confident about the end of the semester. So let me give you some more information about the portfolio assignment, as well as your submitting of it multiple places and your final paper again, and in one case, even your annotated bibliography again. So it seems like a lot, but all it really is linking documents that you've already created. The only new work this week is the portfolio assignment essay, and we'll go over that in detail in just a few minutes. So let me start by saying that grades are due from me to the college on March 21st. I'll be honest, I take my time grading at the end of the semester. I'm exhausted as well, and so I don't rush this process. Your grades will trickle toward you, and everything will be graded and done by May 21st because that's when I have to submit it to the college. So please try to avoid the instinct to email me in the next day or two wondering what your final paper's grade is. I will post it just as soon as it's available. We'll be grading those final projects according to the rubric that I've given you. And there won't be a lot of detail other than reference to that rubric. That rubric has explanations of the points that you've achieved and why you achieved them, including why maybe you didn't achieve them. And so the grading that comes through will not be very detailed. That said, I am happy to meet with anyone who wants to meet with me on Zoom, or I believe I can even still go into the virtual classroom, but one way or the other, we'll figure it out. After you've viewed your grade, please not before, after you've viewed your grade and looked at everything, please let me know if you want to meet one-on-one, and I will go through your entire paper with you in great detail. This is something I've always offered to my students if they come to my office hours as soon as the semester is over and we're into the new semester. I have no problem starting that conversation before May 26th, which is when summer semester officially begins. So if you would like further feedback on the work that you receive, both the final essay and the portfolio, I will be happy to meet with you and give you that information face-to-face, one-on-one, with specific details. The grading you will get in Blackboard will be less complete than that, but will be absolutely complete based on the rubrics you've been given, the explanations for the points that break down in that rubric, and how well you did against that information, which is why it's super vital that at this point, you are always looking at the rubric and grading your own work before you submit it. And the portfolio is not any different. You have a rubric for the point breakdown for the portfolio essay. You need to go in and take a look at your own essay and ask yourself, how would I grade myself? Here's the rub. The portfolio essay, as we'll go over in a minute, is based on analyzing your work this semester and its culminating project. The culminating project is the final draft of the final paper you turned in last night. Congratulations. And that means that as you're writing that portfolio essay, you're making reference to that final project as an artifact that shows, here's what I learned this semester, and here's how well I learned it. So when you turn that portfolio essay into me in the section that's marked Dropbox here for a graded portfolio essay, you're going to, as the instructions say, also load in a new copy of your final project. Because that way, in one place, I've got both documents and I'm able to see not only what you say about your own learning, but also exactly what you reference about your own learning as proof that you are right. Either that you didn't learn something or that you did. So you're going to load up, and the assignment does say this, in my Dropbox for grading, both the new essay that you've written and a copy of your final paper that was due last night. That way, in one Dropbox, I have access to not only what you say about your own learning, but the evidence you base what you say on. In addition to that, you are going to go load up your portfolio essay, the final draft of your final project that was due last night, and your annotated bibliography in an assessment link that's labeled English 103 Assessment Dropbox, right underneath the Dropbox where you turn the work in for a grade from me. My least favorite part of the semester is monitoring the link to see who has turned that stuff in and who has not. Please just go do it. All you have to do is go to this little survey they give you after you watch a video that explains why, and load 3 documents in that you've already created. It's not difficult. It takes about 10 minutes. It's not your favorite thing to do at the end of a semester, and it's so simple, so there's no reason not to go ahead and succeed in this way. If you're frustrated by it, just remind yourself that in 10 minutes it'll all be over and that you deserve that 10 minutes of effort so that you can be as successful as possible. So before I move on to specifics of the portfolio essay assignment, which is the only new writing that you're doing this week, I want to remind you of the most important thing I think you can remember this week and as the semester comes to a close. You may not have done your best work this semester. And there's an instinct in humans to do one of two things, and really they're kind of the same thing. I'm basing this on research. If you would like links to specific articles that talk about these tendencies in humans, feel free to email me and I will send them your way. One of the things we kind of lean toward when things are really hard is deferral of responsibility. It's not my fault. I didn't need to do that because things are hard, and that means I cannot be held accountable. The other thing we tend to lean toward is shaming ourselves and blaming ourselves. Sometimes people call this guilt, but guilt is, I wish I hadn't done that, and shame is, I'm bad for doing that. So both of these, not useful right now. Really, probably not useful ever. So if you find yourself thinking, this should not be asked of me, it is not fair, I would ask you to remember that no one is saying it's fair. Everyone is saying you can get this done. Even if it's not your very best work, you can get through this. And so push that deferral instinct away as much as possible, because it often leads to you making really bad choices. And I'll say we, because this is a human thing. It's not you, it's all of us. We tend to make really bad choices for ourselves when we are deferring responsibility. And if more likely than not, this is where most of my students are going this week, judging by the emails I'm getting, if you're tempted to shame yourself and to blame yourself and to feel like you owe me some kind of apology or explanation, I would remind you that the best forgiveness you can have is for yourself. You don't deserve all of the blame and all of the shame. These are really sucky situations. If you're working as hard as you could, even if that amount really bites, that was still the best you could do. And so the best thing you can do for yourself is forgive yourself so that you're not carrying with you as you go forward into all the work there still is to be done, that sense of shame. It's not useful. And if you need to hear this from me, we can Zoom, I can tell you. You can show up for office hours, I can tell you. And I'm happy to email you all of this same information. So, or, rewatch the video. That's kind of clever too. So finally, I'm going to be doing weird things with my eyes because I'm going to be looking at the assignment on another screen. Let's talk about the portfolio essay and how not to screw it up. So you're basically being invited to think about, what did you learn this semester? Not in terms of, did you learn that COVID-19 sucks, but in terms of, what did you learn about getting yourself step by step through a project that a boss, an employer, a professor might ask you to do. And to do that, you need to think and write reflectively, not only about where you have come from. In other words, how many skills did you walk in with? Did you walk in thinking you were a really good writer and this class kind of blew your mind because you realized that for creative nonfiction, that is true, but for research writing, that's not true? Or did you walk in thinking you pretty much sucked at English because you can't write poetry, and lo and behold, this wasn't a poetry class? After you've done some solid reflecting on what skills did you walk in with, and here's the important thing, why and how, then you want to talk about, where are you now? What have you learned this semester as you were creating this final project that shows you what skills you actually possess in this moment? Perhaps that you already had, perhaps that you learned newly. And then finally, reflecting on, what do you see the opportunities being and the challenges being going forward from this moment? When you put yourself in academic and business situations, or even a parenting role making decisions for a newborn, what do you see being the opportunities and challenges in those roles based on what you learned this semester? Now, at the heart of all this is you thinking through what you should have learned this semester. So page 2 of the assignment deals with providing you in education language, edu-speak, what you should have learned this semester. Let me say that differently. What you have been given opportunity to learn this semester. You may not have done so, and there could be 1,000 reasons, and many of them very valid. But what you should have been presented with the opportunity to learn, because that's how we assess classes, is rhetorical knowledge, critical thinking, reading and writing, using processes to create texts, and knowledge of conventions. So that's a bunch of blah, 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 blah. Let me put it in different words, as I have done so also on page 2 of your assignment. In other words, how has this class and the final project impacted, for good or for bad, your ability to read and write in different situations, for different readers, for different disciplines, your ability to evaluate the usefulness of other people's ideas, of research, and writing, as well as to synthesize multiple people's ideas and then use those ideas for yourself? How has it impacted your ability to write multiple drafts, make revisions of drafts, not just changing commas, but literally thinking through a new way of looking at something that you've already written? So if you've thrown a bunch of stuff out, point that out. Point out that in the section where you talked about stakeholders and history and background, you originally had 10 pages of that garbage. And then you realized, that's not the point of the paper. Let me make this 3 pages. So point those kinds of changes out as evidence of your learning. And then finally, how has this project impacted your ability to follow format and expectations of formal academic research? So a number of folks said to me, what do you mean my language isn't formal enough? And I said, well, if you talk to me like you're texting a friend in this paper, you're not taking seriously that this paper was written for an academic audience that's already intelligent about your topic. So those are the kinds of things we mean when we talk about the expectations and format of a formal academic research paper. It's not the only thing it means, but that's an example. So again, all the way through, as you are saying, here's what I learned, here's what I didn't learn, here's how this impacted my abilities this way, that way, and the other way, you're referring specifically to your final paper and its processes as evidence. So you're not just saying, this is true, you're saying, this is true, here's how I know it's true, and here's evidence that it's true. In other words, you're writing an argument for the fact that you successfully learned the things that you were meant to learn in this class. It's not only a great reflection for you to go through at the end of a semester so that you know this wasn't a waste of your time and you know what tools are now in your toolbox. It also allows me to see that you didn't just mimic, that you know something and that it belongs to you. If there are ways that I can help you, please contact me. I will be in office hours and checking email every day through Thursday at midnight. Talk to you soon.